Welcome to today's live stream. It's Saturday. My name is Paul Toby. Thanks for joining me here on the Jazz Mental YouTube channel. Great to see many of you in the chat so far. If you haven't joined the chat, please do so. And when you do, please give your name and where you're from. I'd appreciate that. I'm going to post a link to the sheet music soon. Today we're working on the tune In a Sentimental Mood, and the reason for that is there's plenty of places to insert what we call chromatic passing chords. If you're not familiar with the term, it basically means that you are moving from one chord to the next using chromaticism. So what does that mean? What context does that take? And how are we going to approach putting that into our playing? And that's what today is all about. Just a quick shout out to those of you that are in the chat and have introduced yourself. It's Ben and Amadeo from Roma. Nice to see you. Allison from Carolina, North Carolina, actually. Rich from Hawaii, Shell. And for everyone else who has not yet joined the chat, please let me know that you're here. And for those of you that are in the chat already, can you just let me know that you can hear my voice okay? And also, let's do a quick sound check on the piano. Let me know that both of those are sounding good to your ears. I'd appreciate that. It really helps me out because I can't really tell what's on your end. I can see what's going through the system, but whatever you get on your end is sometimes not always perfect. So just let me know that you can hear both my voice and the piano, and we'll get started in just a moment. I'm going to post a link to the sheet music. Thank you, Keith, for getting back to me, and Martin, I appreciate that. The link is now in the chat area. Please go and download it because you're going to need it to make some notes. So, I mean, you shouldn't really go all at once because sometimes the site gets a little slow, but you will get your sheet music. And for those of you that do manage to grab it, let me know in the chat area that you've got it and that the link is working okay. So I'm going to play the tune In a Sentimental Mood. Let's put the sheet music up briefly. There it is. It's mostly lead sheet. We are going to make some detailed notes. There are some chromatic passing chords in there already. It's not completely filled out because part of the learning process is that you should make your own notes, because as you write things down, you tend to understand them a little clearer than if everything is written out for you. So that's what we're going to do in this particular case, is write things out as we go along. And I have my pen ready to go to show you how to mark up the chart. Let's play In a Sentimental Mood. What I want you to listen for is all of the areas, and again, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the tune, but all of the areas that sound like chromatic passing chords. And I'm going to put in as many as I can. They're not always going to appear in the same places because as you improvise, you're constantly looking for places to insert chromaticism and chromatic passing chords. So that's what I want you to listen for. Any feedback that you have as we're going through it, you can put in the chat area. And if you want to discuss what's happening and point some things out in the chat area, you're more than welcome to do that. I'm going to turn the vocal mic off, play a little bit, and we'll come back and join you. And everyone that's just joined the chat since the beginning, Jean-Pierre and Paul and Esther, I appreciate it. Actually, Paul is me, so I'm in the chat too. Let me play, and we'll see you in just a minute. Okay, a little fun with In a Sentimental Mood. You never know with me where these things are going to go. I hope you got some value out of that and that you could see the passing chords make its way into that presentation. So Keith, thank you so much for sharing that you got the sheet music. I appreciate that. A couple of shout outs to David and Mike and Rich and the rest of the gang. Allison, good to see you again as well. And Curry from just around the corner. Hey, nice to see you. All right, let me take a screenshot of the sheet music and post it on your screen, because we are going to discuss what I intended for today's session, which is the entire process of chromatic passing chords. Now, right off the bat, yes, thank you, Rich. Chromatics everywhere. I agree. Probably more than I should have. But I was really just trying to make the point that you can put them in wherever you feel like. So let's talk about, first of all, exactly where to put them. So there's really only two types of chromatic passing chords. The first one, which is the most obvious one, is the one that moves down. So pick any destination chord. We're going to pick G minor in this case. And the chromatic passing chord is basically some kind of A flat chord. So you could play a completely half step above with the same chord, or you can play a different chord. Half step above the destination note. That's the first most common type of chromatic passing chord. Chromatics meaning semitone. The second, least popular, is to go below the note. And oftentimes when you go below the note, what's going to happen is it'll turn into a diminished chord. So you're going half step below the destination chord, which in this case is G minor, and you're playing a diminished chord, which in this case is a D7 flat 9 chord. Right? Flat 9, resolving. Now you've heard both of those before. The most common one, like I said, is the one that floats down a half step to the destination chord. Now, you can do it as many times as you want. For example, if our destination is G minor, we can go up a half step, go up another half step, go up another half step, and just keep going. So if we're going down, that's basically 3 half steps down, starting on B flat. And that's all there is to chromatic passing chords. The goal, of course, is to create great music, not overdo it, and understand what chords to actually use that make the most sense. Before we get into writing, I decided to write out the first part for you, which is this part here. And these are all essentially passing chords, but it's not based on chromaticism. What that's based on is the 6th diminished scale. So it's going, every other chord is a diminished chord. One more time. And then at the end, it's a 2-5-1 of D minor. With the chromatic passing chord, E flat 7 sharp 11, which is, I find, one of the most important passing chords, is a dominant 7th and adding some extensions to it. But take a look at the melody. So the melody note is an F major, or just an F natural, I should have said. But turn it into an E flat 7 sharp 11 chord. So you got F over E flat 7. And to me, the chord that precedes the destination chord, which is D minor, the more dissonance you can put into that chord, the better it works. So let's play it. And then our 2-5-1. My suggestion to you is, once you have the sheet music, just play that through, because the hands in most cases move in tandem, and there's a chord on every note. So get that under your fingers. It might take a minute or two for you to do that, but it is good to practice it. Okay, now we're into the tune itself, where we're just doing this line cliche on D minor. So D minor major 7th, D minor 7 to D minor 6th. Oftentimes, you can swap out the D minor 6th chord, by the way, for a G7 chord, if you want to. They're kind of like the same chord. Another line cliche on G minor. So here's our first opportunity to put a chromatic passing chord. Actually, there's one before this. So take any destination note and the note before it, turn it into a chromatic passing chord. So in this case, we've got a melody note of A natural. So A flat 7 of some kind. So let's try that. So what did I do? Instead of A flat 7, I used a D7 sharp 11 chord, which is kind of like the same chord. It's just got the sharp 11, or on A flat, it's the flat 7. So listen to that chord. So you've got the tritone in the left hand, A flat tritone, or D7 tritone, and then in the right hand, you've got E, A flat, and C, which is the melody note. So that's how it works. You have to consider the melody note in the chromatic passing chord. So go up a half step from the destination, A flat, turn it into an A flat or a D7, which is the tritone substitution, and put chromatic passing notes and upper structure notes, extensions that match the melody note, in this case C. Let's do it again. We're going to go F here to D. Let me ask you in the chat area to fill in that chord for me. I'll give you an idea of what I like. I'm not sure if you got what that chord is, but if you could write your own chord in there, give me a challenge. Let me see if, first of all, it is a chromatic passing chord, and secondly, and there's really only two choices here, if you're coming from above, and we've talked about them, right? Think tritone substitution, going to D minor 7. Let's see if we have any responses to this yet. Not yet. And of course, we all know that YouTube delays my voice, so I'm saying what I'm saying, and you're only hearing it 15 to 17 seconds later. So I'll wait for a second to see if anybody has a chord suggestion. And Rich says, yeah, pentatonic melody, that's exactly what it is. This is pentatonics. But it's also a D minor scale. So when you reharmonize any scale using the 6 diminished idea, it's a great idea. No responses on the chromatic passing chord yet? So E flat sharp 11. Yeah, that's exactly what I played, Keith. Nice. Good answer. So I did this. So sharp 11 being the A natural. There's many ways to voice that. Let's try this one, or this one, or this one. So again, that's what we're talking about, right? Half step above, put in some extensions that make that chord sound good. Let's try a different one. In this case, we're going to do A7, which is the tritone substitution of E flat, and we're going to use the F natural in the melody. So we've got B over A. So this is a A7 sharp 11 chord. Completely different. Okay? Do you see how every chord choice that you make creates a different color? This is the first one, A flat 7 sharp 11. Or sorry, E flat 7 sharp 11. Or A7 sharp 11. So 2 different colors. You can use both of them. One the first time, one the second time. Keep going. Now, this is a D7 sharp 11 chord, and the reason for that is you've got the 9th of D7 in the melody, which if you now played extensions, 9, sharp 11, and 13, you get an E over D chord, which works really nice there. And then what I like to do sometimes is just sidestep it using another chromatic passing chord. Just go up a half step, and sometimes I do this. Making color, right? That's what we're looking for as piano players. Just as much color as we can give it. And then, the very next note, here, we did a chromatic passing chord, so think A flat 7 of some kind. Now, it's got the sharp 11 already in the melody, so it screams A flat 7 sharp 11 because you've got a D natural in the melody. And then there's already, I put this one in. Typically it would go to C7, but I like the chromatic passing chord instead. So let's play that from the D minor. A flat 7, sharp 11. G minor 7 to G flat 7, sharp 11. Do you see how the melody really dictates what type of chord it's going to be? Because you don't want things clashing with the melody. You want your chords to make that melody note as colorful as possible. Let's play the whole thing from the beginning. Take your time with it. Oh, let's throw the chromatic passing chord in there, sorry. And that's how to use chromatic passing chords. The concept is fairly simple, but choosing your battles and picking the battles on where to place them, that's the most important part. Let's check in with the chat and see what's happening over there. Hey, Lisa from New Jersey. Yes, I agree, Rich. It is all about lightness of touch. If you were to hammer this out, it just sounds garbled. But if you use the pedal correctly and you have a nice light touch, stretch it out, right? Start off quickly. Find some rubato ideas to fit in there. Thank you. Marla, this song is one of my all-time favorites. I'm glad to hear that. It is a wonderful Ellington tune. We're going to tackle the bridge in just a moment. I hope you're getting something out of this. Rich also says, and the chord after E flat sharp 11 feels like I'm recycling into a deep cushion or reclining into a deep cushion. So exactly what is that chord? How did you spread it? So the chord after E flat sharp 11, let's take a look here. Oh, I think he's just talking about the D. So here. So how did I spread that chord out? A lot of times when I play minor 11 chords, what I'll do is in the left hand, because it's D minor and not G minor. G minor is a little harder to reach, but at least D minor, what I'll do is I'll play a fifth and then a third like that, and in the right hand I'll just cover the extensions. So this is the note on top, which is the melody note, so that's what makes it a D minor 11. So it's like C with and duplicate the melody note, because that's what happens a lot of times. You want to make that note stand out, and this is how I kind of voice D minor 11 chords. You can do it up here, do it like this. There's a lot of things you can do. And what I do sometimes is I will play inversions of that while the space is happening. Now, you'll notice a lot of times in my playing, I will arpeggiate the left hand or down, and I might even arpeggiate the right hand. That was a quick arpeggiation of the chord. You could play it like this, or you could do it. And so what you're doing is you're adding color, not just with the chord itself, but the way each note gets put down. Yeah, it really is a lot of fun to work with chromatic passing chords, because it gives you tons and tons of flexibility. You can put them pretty much wherever you want. You can put a chromatic passing chord on any note, really. It doesn't necessarily have to even be on a destination note. It can be an interim destination note. Martin says, awesome teaching about passing chords. Thank you. Going to rewatch this for sure. I think it's a good idea to not just rewatch this one, but many of the ones that I do. I try to be as detailed as possible. So thank you for that. Keith says, I've been using flat 7, sharp 11, half step above for quite a while. Good. I just found out a couple of weeks ago that they are Lydian dominants. Okay. Well, I've learned something new today. I often use 1 to 7 in the left-hand shell voicings. Yeah, good idea. And right-hand upper structure triads. That's pretty much all there is to it. So if we were to play an E-flat shell voicing in the left hand, which is E-flat and D-flat, and then our extensions in the right hand, the problem with this is the only note that's missing is the third of the chord. And so often what you'll do is maybe the third is in the melody, but you can play it wherever you want. This note. So don't forget it, because this doesn't sound as nice as this. There's more going on here, because the third is a very important note in any chord, as we know. It kind of dictates whether it's major, minor, or even diminished. Thank you, Keith. Alan says, in the lead-in measure, is the A diminished seventh plus E half diminished considered to be a 2/5 into the D minor? Yes, it is. We already pointed that out. So this is a 2/5. It's also a chromatic passing chord, because instead of A7, so it would be E half diminished seventh. And let me erase this so we know what we're talking about, for those of you that are wondering, what is he going on about now? And the answer is, we're talking about this here, right here. So we've got E half diminished seventh, which the melody note is D, And then we're going to F and an E flat 7, but typically it would be an E half diminished 7th chord to A7 flat 9, or sharp 9 actually. So we're just using the tritone sub of A7 flat 9, and we're coming up with this chromatic passing chord, E flat 7 sharp 11. Okay, Alan, thank you for the question. Allison says, do you find you have some standard passing chord pieces that you constantly reuse without much thought, or are you having to make choices for each song based on the melody? The answer is the second part. I would agree with part 2 of that question, which I am making choices based on melody. That's typically, I wouldn't necessarily use a lot of chromatic passing chords in a solo section because the solo section doesn't need it. There's a lot going on. Unless I were like at the end of that making some chord soloing and some block chords, I think it's a great place to use chromatic passing chords. My typical concept, especially let's say I'm preparing for a concert, and if you were part of last week, you know that I stopped practicing 2 days before the concert because I want everything to be fresh and spontaneous and as improv as possible. But when I'm learning tunes for a concert and I'm working them over, I'll have some chromatic passing ideas for sure. That would be something that I would repeat for this tune only. It doesn't mean you can't apply that concept to another tune. It's just that for me, I want a combination of having worked stuff out plus an ample amount of chromatic passing chord spontaneity to give life to a piece, so that it's never the same way twice. Plus, we all know that you can't memorize these things. Even if you download one of my transcriptions, the goal of that transcription is not to memorize the entire thing and play it as is. It's to pull from the transcription ideas that match your style of playing, that match what you want to accomplish, and learn little snippets of that and incorporate them spontaneously into your soloing. Allison, thank you for the question. Philip says, hi, Paul and Nancy. I hope all is well with you both. I appreciate that. Thank you. Let's go to the bridge now and see what kind of trouble we can get ourselves into. And I'm just quickly making a screenshot so that I can write on the screen. You can see that we're ending on the second time ending, which is basically F. And then we need to make our way to D flat. So this is the first opportunity for a chromatic passing chord. So what I would do here is, if I find the right place to write on, here we go. This is ending on F, and now what we're going to do is some kind of 2-5. So E flat minor to A flat 7 of some kind, but you can turn it into D to make it a chromatic passing chord in front of D flat. So we're ending on F. So all I did there was that E flat minor to D, 7 sharp 11, sharp 9, right? Sharp 9. Now, it does sound a little muddy, so you have to play it quietly in order for it to make sense. Okay? That's the first instance. The next one that I remember putting in is here. So this is an opportunity to use the B flat minor 7th chord as the destination chord. Go up, we've got 2 notes to fill, so go up 2 half steps. So we're going to go to C, B, and then B flat. So what we have to do is we have to make chords out of the melody notes. So we got B flat. So the first one I chose is a C half diminished 7th chord. So let me write that in. So this is C half diminished 7th. And then on this note, we got a C and a B. Now, why is that a problem? And the answer is it's a flat 9. One of the harshest intervals in jazz. So what you have to do is if you're going to use a flat 9 in this context, you have to color that note as much as possible. So what I'm doing here is using some kind of diminished chord and just kind of filling in the blanks. Now again, by itself it doesn't sound great, but listen to this. Might not be perfect, so that's something you would work over. You could even thin the chord out if you wanted to. That works too. Yeah, so this would be D flat major 7 over B7. Listen to that. So the D flat, this is 9, sharp 11, and 13. But you've also got the C natural in the melody, which makes a D flat major 7 chord. So D flat major 7 over B7. I like to go to G. I don't like, to me, this sounds like the tune is over. So let's scrap that and let's use some kind of like G minor chord like it does down here. And go A flat to G minor. So I know if you take a look at the thumbnail for this video, it's called Beyond Ellington. These are things that Ellington didn't actually do. The concept of chromatic passing chords is a great arranging technique, but in Duke Ellington's playing, you wouldn't find a lot of instances like that. So we're going beyond what Ellington had intended, and we're adding a more modern style of playing. You would never hear Ellington do that. That's way beyond what Ellington would have played. These notes, by the way, they're blue notes. And the reason why they're blue notes, if you actually look at a B flat 7 chord, it's a sharp 5. So it really is like you're resolving to the 6th of the chord. You can resolve down too. But that's where this comes from. Look at my left hand doing some arpeggiating or just some lines in the left hand, right? Then what I would do is just toss this C7 out and put its tritone substitution, G flat 7, because it sounds like this. Right? Just sounds so much finer than a C7 chord. Right? C7 is just super plain, right? Go G flat 7. Sharp 11, some kind, whatever. Okay? Let's play the whole bridge from the ending of the first time. Yeah. That's taking Ellington beyond into a new dimension. And that's what I was really wanting to talk about today. I hope you're getting some value out of this. Let's check in the chat and see what's happening here. Richard says, thank you for the reminder of how the transcription should be used. Yeah, the goal, again, of a transcription is not to memorize everything I've done. It's to take the parts out of it that you really think match your style and match your ear and work them through from that perspective. Yeah, I agree. Rich says, strange line on bars 12 and 13. Can you explain why this works out? Bars 12 and 13. So I briefly mentioned this before. It is kind of strange here. So what's happening is this note of each of these chords is a sharp 5. So this note here, sharp 5. This note here, sharp 5. Okay, plus 5, sharp 5, same thing. So what you're doing, if you've ever heard, like, I don't know, so you're getting to a destination chord E, A flat. We're playing Misty, obviously. So you've got what you have here is a sharp 5 resolving to the 6th of the chord. And that's what the idea here is. We're resolving sharp 5 to the 6th of the chord. And it makes blue sound, right? Okay. Why did he do that? I don't know. He's just filling space, because this is a melody. And it's not melody, it's just filling space. Getting back to here. It's important to remember that Duke Ellington was more of an arranger. His whole thing was big band. Yes, he played the piano in the big band. Not always, but he did a lot of the time. So the way that he approaches everything is from an arranging technique. So what we have here is dead space that he's filling with an interesting idea, resolving sharp 5 to the 6th of the chord. And it's just obviously 6, 2, 5, 1. But each of the chords, 6, is a 7th chord. So this is 6, 7, 2, 7, 5, 7, 1 major. So 6, 7 with a sharp 5. 2, 7 with a sharp 5. 5, 7 with a sharp 5. This note, make the change in your chart. I've seen this a couple of times now. This note is wrong. So you want to change it to an E flat, not a D flat. Let's check back in. You're really helping out today with your comments. I appreciate it. It really moves things along. Yeah, Rich says he wrote an odd phrase. It is an odd phrase, but it works, which, again, from an arranging technique, it really works. Francia, hi from Maracaibo, Venezuela. Nice to see you. Dr. Willis says, beautiful playing. Nice, thank you. Rich says, thanks, Paul. Got it? Good. Alan, one more time, please, at the start of the B section, would you please explain your thinking on your choice of voicing and chord type for the B flat and C leading to the B flat minor 7? Okay, one more time. Erase everything. And he's talking here, or asking about here, these two notes. So my thinking is just from a chromatic passing chord standpoint, right? The goal of today was to find places to put chromatic passing chords. What is this at the right-hand side? Back? Okay, got it. You can't see that, by the way. I've got something that showed on the right-hand side of my screen. I had to get rid of it because it was in the way. So the goal of today was chromatic passing chords. So if we consider these two notes, which lead to the B flat 7, go back from B flat minor 7 and do chromatics before that. So chromatic passing chord before B flat is B. Now, it could be below, but most of what we're talking about today is coming from above. So a half step above B flat minor 7. So this chord then becomes some type of B chord. And then another half step in front of that, this chord becomes a C chord. So C to B flat. So all we have to do is find chords that match the melody note. So if this is the melody note, that sounds terrible. All we're doing is playing the bass line and the right hand together. You can't do that. I mean, you can do anything you want, but it doesn't sound great. So the goal then is to find chords that make sense. For C, I can choose any chord I want. In this particular case, I chose a C half diminished 7th chord, because if you're going to a minor 7th, a 2-5 of B flat minor is C half diminished 7th to F7 flat 9 to B flat minor, right? Okay? So therefore, I think if it works in this context with the melody, which it does because it's the flat 7 matched with the flat 3 and the flat 5, you get this. So that's where you C half diminished 7th or C minor 7 flat 5. And then on B, some kind of dominant chord that matches the melody. So what I did was I put a D flat major 7 chord over B, because we're trying to muffle this sound, this flat 9. Now, if you used a B7 flat 9 chord, it's okay. It just sounds, to me, it just doesn't work. So you gotta be thicker than that. Okay. What happened to my entire chat? Just disappeared. I'm gonna have to do chat over here. I have two screens for chat. Alan, I hope that answers your question. Thank you for it. I appreciate it. And I did my best to explain clearly what's going on there. Emotive. Hi, Paul. Here at work on a Saturday. Got the download. Perfect. Regards to Nancy. Praying for good health, positive energy, and healing. Yeah, we need a lot of that around here. Thank you so much for your kind wishes. Let's play the tune one more time. This time, what we're going to do is just play swing. Look for instances of chromatic passing chords in this rendition. And I'm just going to play it swing the entire head from the beginning and see how that works out. Just a little bit different than the first time through, but we're still working on chromatic passing chords. Here we go. Okay, we are back. Alan says, thanks, Paul. Good explanation. Jeffrey, peace to you too, man. Appreciate it. And no comments on that performance yet. A great transcription of this would be very interesting to study. Thank you, Jerry. You're the... I appreciate you asking for these things. My transcriber just had a baby, by the way. PJ in Poland had a baby. So he's completely like, it's their first, and he's overwhelmed. So he hasn't been doing much work for me the last few weeks. So we'll try to get some of these transcriptions finished as quickly as possible. But again, he's on a bit of a baby break. So congratulations to PJ. Marla says, beautiful, and agree with you, Jerry. Yeah, transcription would be nice to study. So I appreciate everyone hanging out with me today. It's been fun. We're going to cut things off right now. It is noon here Eastern Standard Time. I appreciate you all showing up. Make sure you grab the sheet music link at the top of the chat before this session is over, because I'm going to take it down right after and you will not have access to it. Lots of people will ask for the sheet music in the replay, and that's not how it works. We like people to come here live and experience the Saturday with the rest of us. Allison, I appreciate that. You enjoyed the concert every Saturday. I appreciate it. Great break in the day. Good for you. All right. Again, same time, same place next Saturday. My name is Paul Toby from Jazzmental. I sent everybody a link in the download to kind of take a look at this week's offer, which is half off the Bill Evans transcription of him playing Waltz for Debbie. It's not my playing, it's Bill Evans. I find it very useful to kind of tackle his voicings and see how he plays Waltz for Debbie. So if you haven't picked that up before, I will put a link in the chat area along with the coupon code, which is Bill Evans 50. But again, I sent everybody an email on this. So please take me up on that. Every purchase goes to help the Jazzmental channel and reach other musicians worldwide who can't necessarily afford sheet music. And so we have to kind of spread things out a little bit. And I appreciate your help on that. Grab the Bill Evans transcription, and we'll see everybody next Saturday, same time, same place. Enjoy your Saturday wherever you are in the world. Thanks for coming.